Good morning. I'm Camilla Hellman, President of the American Scottish Foundation, and on behalf of all of us involved in the Scottish North American Community Conference, thank you for joining us this morning for our final day of Expressions of Scottishness, exploring the full dimension of Scotland's engagement with North America in 2021. Today, we turn our focus to Scotland and hear of what we can look forward to in 2022. SNAC, as we internally refer to the conference, is now in the 19th year, having been founded by the Chicago Scots, formerly known as the St. Andrew's Society of Illinois, and the American Scottish Foundation. The initiative was led by two exceptional exceptional leaders of the Scottish American community at that time, Wayne Redford and Alan Bain. They saw the need to spotlight and drive the awareness of the power of the Scottish American community, that we are a large diaspora that should and could do so much more to help our common love of Scotland, our heritage, and the sharing of message both ways. The community here being hungry to know more of what is happening in Scotland and to help. And so the Scottish North American Leadership Conference began, now with a tweak to the name. We are now the Scottish North American Community Conference, inviting all to lend their voice. Prior to the pandemic, we met in person to share news, ideas, and best practices, and began to be joined virtually by panelists from Scotland. Now, for the second year, SNAC is a virtual conference entirely. The organizing of the conference is a group effort and is a real collaboration, and I would like to add my thanks to those of Gus's yesterday, to Gus Noble, John Bellassai, John Cherry, Bill Petrie, Charlie Sherwood, Maggie McEwen, Joanne Tuskin, Michael Reed, and Bill Petrie. And a special thanks to Jamie McGeechin, who is handling things technical along with Bill Petrie. We'd also like to thank the Scottish Government, Washington, DC, and Visit Scotland for their support. And on a housekeeping note, if you would like to ask a question of the panelists, please type it into the chat or Q&A box, and the panelists and moderator will look to answer it. And now let us begin our program today. On behalf of the committee, I would like to welcome Lord Thurso to SNAC. Lord Thurso is chairman of Visit Scotland and serves ex officio as a board member to Visit Britain. Lord Thurso has spent the majority of his life connected to hospitality industry. At 27, he became Europe's youngest five-star hotel manager as managing director of the Savoy Group's Lancaster Hotel in Paris, going on to lead a number of hospitality businesses, including Blakely's Hotel of Cliveden, which became the UK's highest-rated hotel under his leadership. Lord Thurso is also chairman of his family company in Caithness. He sat in the House of Lords between 1995 and 99, and from 2001 to 2015 was MP for Caithness, Sutherland, and Easton Ross. In 2003, he was awarded Katie for his services to tourism, was made an honorary DBA by Oxford Brookes in 2004, and is a master innkeeper, a fellow of the Institute of Hospitality, and is president of the Tourism Society. In 2014, he was made Privy Councillor by Her Majesty the Queen. And so good morning, Lord Thurso, and thank you for joining us today as we begin turning our focus to responsible tourism. Over to you.
Camilla, good morning, and thank you very much indeed for that impossibly long and large introduction. It's quite terrible. But anyway, a good morning to everybody in North America for the Scottish North American Community Conference. It's an immense pleasure for me as chairman of Visit Scotland to be able to be with you almost in person through the medium of Zoom and to bring you my very warmest greetings from my home on the north coast of Scotland, where I can tell you it's actually a rather sunny but very cold day, but the wind is getting up and the North Atlantic is lapping at the foot of the house. But it's glorious to be here in Scotland. I have tremendous memories of having visited the conference in Chicago a few years ago. And I must say, however wonderful digital virtual Zoom is, there's nothing quite like being able to meet people in person. And I really, really hope that before my time is up, there will be an opportunity for me to come back to one more conference. But let me say how brilliant it has been of you to do so much hard work to put this marvelous conference together. The hardships of COVID-19, the pandemic, have been felt all across the world. And it's marvelous to see how you've responded in bringing this wonderful 3-day conference into being with such a rich and wonderful and varied program. And I'm delighted to be on the agenda and be able to tell you something about what we're doing. Very quickly, just say that the pandemic's obviously had a devastating effect on tourism here in Scotland. Obviously, international tourism has hardly happened at all. We did have a good domestic season, which was very helpful. But of course, with the latest Omicron variant, we don't know what's going to be happening. But I am sure that the time will come when we will be able to welcome all our tremendous diaspora friends from all around the world back to Scotland. And in that regard, what we've been doing is trying to keep the message of Scotland and everything we have to offer fresh in people's minds by going to them with videos and other ways, talking to people, telling them what we've got and saying how much we look forward to seeing them when we can. I'm delighted that the session coming up is about responsible tourism. This was actually an initiative I started about 4 years ago. And of course, it's been brought into sharp focus by COP26 and the clear need to deal with the climate emergency. But it's around, Janie Newman's going to tell you all about it, our responsible tourism manager, in a moment. But it's really about focusing on sustainability, both of the product and sustainability of communities. And I hope we'll have a chance to talk about that a little later on after you've seen that. And of course, 2022 is going to be Scotland's Year of Stories. We have our themed years. And I can't think of anything more appropriate than for people who like Scotland, people of Scots descent and Scots ourselves, to be telling stories. You know, the warm peat fire, the glass of malt, and ach aye boy, do you remember? It's all part of our culture, and there's huge different ways in which that's going to play in. So thank you very much for asking me to be with you, and I hope that you have a wonderful remainder of the conference, and I look forward to being here to answer questions.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And now we're going to go and hear from Janie Newman, Visit Scotland's Sustainable Tourism Manager, who plays a key role in Visit Scotland's responsible tourism activity. She has 20 years of experience in the travel and tourism industry, working to support the delivery of responsible tourism that benefits business and provides enriching quality experiences for visitors, enhances the communities. It operates in and protects the natural and cultural heritage it depends on. Janie is going to provide an introduction to responsible tourism of Scotland and give some top tips on how visitors to Scotland can get involved.
Hello and greetings from Edinburgh. I'm absolutely delighted to be joining all of you at this year's SNAC conference from Scotland. And I am Janie Newman. I'm the Sustainable Tourism Manager here at Visit Scotland. And I will be telling you a bit more about sustainable or responsible tourism, what it means for Visit Scotland and in Scotland. So to get us started, I really want to just establish what we're talking about. And in the last few years, we've increasingly spoken about responsible tourism versus sustainable tourism, but in its essence, it's very similar. It just really implies a bit more action, and that for the industry, whether that's organizations like ourselves, our destination communities, and our businesses, as well as our visitors, everybody has a role to play to look at their impacts. And that's not just about doing less harm, but really maximizing the positive impacts, whether that's economically, socially, or environmentally. It's really this idea of tourism being a force for good and creating great places to live, which also make for great places to visit. And in this area of responsible tourism development, we've really identified 4 key areas to focus on. One of them is that supporting Scotland's transition to a low-carbon economy. Essentially, that's about tackling climate change and all the different things that encompasses, whether that's energy efficiency or renewable energy, reducing our waste, especially food waste, and also that shift to low-carbon transport, which is incredibly important in this space. We also want to ensure that tourism in Scotland is inclusive. So that means barrier-free access to our transport and all the wonderful things we can do to really make sure that everybody can enjoy Scotland and what it has to offer. It's also that broader equality, diversity and inclusion agenda that is increasingly important to consider throughout what we do. We also want to ensure that tourism contributes to thriving communities, that communities benefit, that it supports their health and well-being, and also that we spread the love of tourism, so to speak, that we share that prosperity throughout all the regions in Scotland and throughout the entire year. And really ensure also an opportunity for communities to have their say in how tourism develops. And last but not least, we want to safeguard our natural and cultural heritage for the future. And as you will all know, we are blessed with some amazing landscapes and cultural heritage, whether that's from our buildings, our food and drink, music, and language. And so it's really key and fundamental that we really consider how we can protect these and minimize any pressures and really encourage that respectful enjoyment. So these are the four kind of key areas, and I'd just like to focus on one aspect a little bit more, that transition to that net zero destination, especially as most of you will know that we've had COP26 here, the United Nations Climate Change Conference right here in Glasgow, just a few weeks ago, which was incredibly exciting to have the largest event the UK has ever hosted in Scotland, but also such a pivotal moment for the fight against climate change globally. And we really recognise that with the global minds on climate change and the spotlight on Scotland, this was a great opportunity for us to be ambitious, but also to show how tourism was part of the solution and what we have been doing in Scotland for a while. The Scottish Government has set very ambitious targets for net zero by 2045. At Visit Scotland, supported by our chairman's leadership, we were the first national tourism organisation to join Tourism Declares a Climate Emergency a good year ago to really underline our commitment and ambition in this space. And since then, we've been working collaboratively with national and international partners like the UNWTO and others, which really led on to us being part of the drafting committee and founding signatories for the Glasgow Declaration, which is a global call to climate action for the tourism industry and was launched at COP. So there's lots of exciting things going on and in this space and really all come together to drive our aspiration to ensure that really bold steps are taken on this journey to net zero and kickstarting that decade of climate action. So as I mentioned before, responsible tourism really involves all the different players. So whether that's businesses, visitors as well. So if you're wondering what visitors can do and what you could do the next time you come to Scotland, hopefully soon, I just wanted to focus on some of those ideas. Really, a lot of it can start while you're still at home and planning your trip, really thinking about when can you travel to Scotland? Could you travel in the off-peak time of year? How long are you coming? Obviously, the more time you can spend in Scotland, the better. And then also, if you can stay longer in one place rather than rushing around and really giving you the chance to explore the different areas. So this idea of slow travel. Also getting off the beaten track and visiting hidden gems can be really exciting for you and all are really useful for all the different communities throughout Scotland. Also thinking about how you get here, which will involve flying, but also getting around once you're here. What are the options around using public transport, maybe getting an electric vehicle or other opportunities? Also, what are the businesses that you're choosing? Can you choose accommodation providers, for example, that have green certification? We're blessed with over 800 certified businesses in Scotland. Are there opportunities to reduce your waste? For example, bringing your reusable water bottle to cut down on single-use plastic. Many of the things that you're already doing at home, but also translate to what you can do on holiday. Supporting local. It's also a great way and also a wonderful experience for you by trying all the local food and drink that Scotland has to offer. from our seafood, our beef, our cheeses, and of course our whiskies and gins, but also supporting our artists and craftspeople through the souvenirs you buy, for example, and also our communities and social enterprises. For example, choosing a local guide through Invisible Cities is a great opportunity, as this is a social enterprise that works with formerly homeless people, trains them as guides, and they really provide a wonderful experience and a completely new view on the city that you're visiting. So all of these actions really speak to thinking more consciously about the choices that we make when we're planning and going on a holiday, and looking to tread more lightly in the places that we visit. And that treading lightly is also a key theme of one of our new campaign videos, which I'm excited to say we will share with you after this presentation. So overall, the Year of Scotland Stories is coming up, which is incredibly exciting to celebrate all of the wonderful old or traditional, as well as the new stories that Scotland has to tell. And sharing our stories in the responsible tourism space is also incredibly important, because sharing the story to become more responsible, sustainable, and low carbon is key, and it will support others on their journey, really foster that collaboration, and ensure that we learn from each other and we can go faster and further in our collective journey. So this involves Visit Scotland, but also our communities, our tourism businesses, and our visitors. We all have a part to play in this. And next you will hear from some great businesses about their stories so far in becoming a more sustainable business. And Scotland is already recognised as a leader in this field of responsible tourism, but really it's time to take it to the next level. And responsible low carbon approach to rebuilding and growing tourism in Scotland needs to be and is a priority. And there's no time to sit back, and we hope you will join us on this journey to tread lightly. Thank you.
Being here makes all the steps taken worth it, and the next steps even more important. I choose my path without impacting on our earth. The beat of a drum, the pulse of a club, the warmth of a fire, the taste of the sea. In a place you feel like you've escaped to, that still feels like home. A home protected for future generations, ready to explore. Scotland doesn't do things by small measures, unless it's whiskey. So we've charged our glasses, and our cars, and our bikes. If you're hungry for new experiences, thirsty for the unknown, and you want to go further, faster, slower, higher, deeper, louder, but still tread lightly upon our earth, then step forward. Scotland is calling.
What a wonderful video. I absolutely love that. I think it says it all. And now we are going to travel to Skye and hear from Alex Stoddard, Chief Executive of Clandonald Land Trust, and of how they are looking to handle the huge influx of visitors to Armadale Castle and the 20,000 acres the Land Trust oversees. Over to you.
Hello, my name is Alex Stoddard. I'm the Chief Executive for the Clandonald Lands Trust here in the beautiful Isle of Skye. It's a stunning day here. It's a wintry day. We've had some snow and hail over the last few days, and it's really brought out the crispness of our beautiful environment here in the Scottish Highlands. I'm sorry I can't attend the conference in person, and I send you all good wishes here from the Isle of Skye. But it's a pleasure to be with you, even in a recorded message, and I'm keen to speak with you about the background to the Clandonald Lands Trust, what we're about, where we go forward, and some of the challenges that we face in respect of sustainable, responsible tourism. The Clandonald Lands Trust was set up in 1971 as part of a community buyout for what was the Clandonald clan lands here in the Isle of Skye. Back in the 12th century, and before, the Clandonald was Scotland's most powerful clan, and they owned a huge stretch of the West Highlands and Islands here in Scotland. but essentially the first kingdom of Scotland. So we can look at ourselves as being the first kings of Scotland as well. The Clan Donald Lands Trust was set up to protect our heritage and our lands for the future generations. In 1971, clan members from across the world, including the United States, came together to fund this incredible community acquisition. And as a consequence of that, we now have 50 years of tradition, 50 years of culture, and 50 years of tremendous heritage asset improvement and legacy building to take forward into the 21st century. So we're very proud to have that with you today. This year we celebrate 50 years of the Clan Donald Lands Trust, and as part of the celebrations we're running a number of events for local people and visitors alike, and we're really proud to showcase where we've been over the last 50 years and importantly where we now go forward as a responsible tourism based project on the Isle of Skye. Here visitors can experience some of the most beautiful gardens in the world. We have a fantastic arboretum, woodland garden, and an old castle. Along with that, a world-renowned museum known as the Museum of the Isles. It covers the history and heritage and the culture of Clan Donald, but so many other aspects of Scottish Highland life. We cover the story of Clan Donald and also the members of the clan from around the world. We have very close connections to clan members across the diaspora and especially in the United States. And it's a pleasure to find so many coming here in recent past to experience their own history and to find out more about their own heritage. Storytelling is a really important part of clan history, and it's really interesting to hear so many stories from family members of the clan coming to Scotland and telling us where their own family has come from in Scotland and where they are now. So that sense of collective history isn't just about the past, it's also about the future as well. The changing nature of tourism in Scotland means that we need to change how we deal with visitor numbers here at Armadale and Skye. The wider island itself and Skye has been experiencing large volumes of tourists, often coming simply for a bucket list experience. But here at Armadale and Clan Donald we're offering far more than that, so people can come here to experience a closer connection both to the clan, the heritage, the history, but also to the Isle of Skye itself as a fabulous natural capital paradise. As part of our drive forward for sustainable tourism, we're really keen to reach out to young people, both in our local community and the wider clan community across the world, including the United States, to find a better way forward for tourism here on Skye. It's important that we all work together in partnership, and it's really important that we all look at the challenges we currently face in respect of a high volume of tourist footfall, and yet we also appreciate the fact that it's good for people to come here. And it's fantastic for all of us to feel this collective sense of belonging. As one example, Lord MacDonald, High Chief of Clan Donald, recently had a 50th year anniversary tree planting ceremony with young children. So as part of our future plans for the estate here at Armadale and these fantastic gardens that we have, we're engaging with the young people in planting trees, and hopefully as they grow into the years ahead, they will see those trees grow with them as well. And that's a symbolic gesture for us in terms of the 50 years that we've had, but the 50 years and the 150 years that we want to have going forward from here. As all of you with close connections to Scotland will know, the sense of people and place is really important, and to us it's really important that visitors coming here not only experience the wider beautiful environment and the gardens and the castle that we have here in the museum, but they also experience a sense of belonging, a sense of responsibility for an extraordinary natural environment that we all have a duty to protect for the generations ahead. Whatever your clan and Scottish background, we are all one family. And it's a pleasure to be with you, to share this wonderful environment here at Armadale and Skye with you today, and we look forward to welcoming you to Skye in the many years ahead.
Such huge challenges being met with so much innovation being used. I caught up with Mary Jane Brett next, who is the Customer Relation Development Manager for the Scotland brand homes for Diageo, Johnnie Walker, Princes Street. Their wonderful new destination recently opened in Edinburgh, to hear of how Diageo is handling and looking at the visitor experience of Johnnie Walker, Princes Street. Mary Jane?
Good morning. We are joined now by Mary Jane Brett. She is the, I hope I get this right, Mary Jane, the Customer Development Manager of Johnnie Walker's Experience at Princes Street, and also of Diageo's Scotland brand homes. So welcome to the Scottish North American Community Conference this morning. And thank you for allowing us to learn a little bit more about the way Diageo is addressing this. But could we begin with a short film that you have about Princes Street?
Absolutely. Thank you, Camilla. Hi, everybody. It's great to have the opportunity to talk to you today. So yes, this video is just a short 1-minute video that really gives an overview of what we have in store for you at Johnnie Walker Princes Street.
Start us on a journey with Diageo and let us learn a little bit about all the distilleries and how you are looking at responsible tourism and your social responsibility at this time.
Of course, yes. Thanks, Camilla. So, as you can see from the image on the screen, this is an amazing picture of our new brand visitor attraction called Johnnie Walker Princes Street. And we in the Scotland Brand Homes are part of Diageo, which is a global business with employees all around the world. Diageo produces over 200 beverage brands, old and new, large and small, global and local, brands that are enjoyed in more than 180 countries around the world. So, Diageo's business in Scotland is really focused on producing Scotch whisky and exporting it around the world. And at our distilleries and brand homes, we welcome visitors to share in the stories behind our whiskies, learn about the people who make them. We engage the senses, delivering immersive experiences, which give our guests lifelong, unforgettable memories. And something that is really vital to us, Camilla, is that we do what we do in the most sustainable and responsible way possible. So our aim really is to set the benchmark in sustainable tourism, to be trailblazers in our industry, looking to protect our communities and resources for future generations of Scotch lovers. So 4 years ago, we as a company announced plans for a huge multi-million pound investment in Scotch whisky tourism, really the largest single investment ever seen in Scotch whisky tourism. And at the heart of this investment was our plan to open Johnnie Walker Princes Street, which is a global brand visitor attraction right in the centre of Edinburgh. But equally important to us was our investment in transforming our distillery visitor experiences in communities around Scotland. So looking at the map here, we've got Glenkinchie in the lowlands, all the way up to Clynelish in the north. We've got Cardew in Speyside, over to Talisker on Skye, Lagavulin on Islay, and everywhere else in between. And really fundamental to our plans was a commitment to sustainable practices. We had the opportunity to weave sustainability into the design and transformation of our visitor experiences, really from the outset. And Diageo as a whole has really committed to a decade of action, which is aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. These are really stretching targets for 2030. And we're not just talking about environmental sustainability, but holistic sustainability across all key aspects of our business. So that also includes inclusion and diversity, and also very important to us as a drinks company is promoting responsible drinking. So in regard to environmental sustainability, we've set the target of being net zero carbon in our direct operations by 2030, and that also includes our tourism operations. But our investment really goes beyond what we do directly in our business. We're making investments really in the future of Scotland as a place as well. So an example is by 2025, Johnnie Walker is going to plant 1 million trees in Scotland. And these are going to be native deciduous trees with a focus on biodiversity and all community access, creating woodlands that both wildlife and people can enjoy. And we have 11 distilleries on the River Spey, and they have just achieved certification from the Alliance for Water Stewardship for their efforts to manage precious water resources. So a lot going on, I think, and sort of narrowing the focus down a little bit specifically to Johnnie Walker Princes Street. It is a new visitor attraction. We just opened in September. And Johnnie Walker Princes Street was created with sustainability really at its core. We've opened with a really prestigious Green Tourism Gold certification, which recognises our commitment to sustainability and the measures we've put in place designed to really ensure a really truly green visitor experience. We've got a custom-built dispensing system which removes the use for single-use glass bottles, sedum roof or a living roof, which increases habitats for wildlife in the city centre, as well as helping to attenuate and slow down that water flow. We've got bird habitats, bicycle parking, terrace planting to encourage small insects like butterflies. And also, in addition to Johnnie Walker Princes Street, we've transformed those experiences at Glenkinchie, Cardew, Clynelish, which have also now received gold certification with green tourism. You know, Glenkinchie has a shuttle bus that runs to Edinburgh, which runs on green biofuels. We've got beehives in the distillery garden. We've got bat boxes, bird boxes, and something as simple as a free water dispenser in the visitor centre, so people can top up their water bottles for free.
So we've got a total experience for the visitor to be able to have with great social responsibility for the community, and real responsibility to also around everything that they do. You've really thought of it all. How can people visit Princes Street?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of actually visiting Johnnie Walker Princes Street, there's lots of different things that you can do in the building. Just on the screen here, I've got some images from some of the experiences that you can do. We've got something called the Johnnie Walker Journey of Flavour, which is a really immersive experience. We have the Whiskey Maker's Cellar, where people who maybe consider themselves a connoisseur of whiskey can sample whiskey straight from the cask, which is pretty amazing. We've got two rooftop bars at Johnnie Walker Princes Street. We've got this one, which you can see, called the 1820, which has the most amazing view over Princes Street Gardens to Edinburgh Castle. And then this is our second rooftop bar, called the Explorer's Bothy, where we've got an amazing library of whiskies. There's over 150 special bottles and one-of-a-kind cask editions. And in these bars, you can have tastings, or you can come for a meal, or just have a drink with your friends. Retail as well. I could go on and on. I won't. I'll in order to book. What? Sorry, Camilla.
Carry on.
Okay. Now I was just going to say it's very easy to book. So hopefully, when your lovely audience can come over to Scotland and actually visit us, just need to go on the website. JohnnieWalker.com. That's probably quite easy to remember. If you click on Visit Us in Edinburgh, you can book an experience, you can book a table in the rooftop bars, you can plan your visit, you can have a look at the kind of products that you can find in retail. And if you happen to be a travel trade business as well, we've got a link there that you can send us an inquiry to, just to find out what we offer to travel trade as well.
So, but it's really an experience. You are really tackling this from the distillery, the community, how you move things around, how you are, with the green energy and everything else. You really are thinking the whole way around 360, which is, and I've heard from many who are saying also it goes to the food and how that is sourced as well. It's a total responsibility.
Yeah, we're very keen to source locally as much as we possibly can, and we have an amazing larder in Scotland, not only making wonderful Scotch whisky, but we have fabulous producers. We're quite a small country, so our carbon footprint getting all those beautiful foods to us is relatively carbon neutral as well. And we talk about sustainability as part of the experience as well. I mentioned those dispensers that your guests will see when they come to visit us. We managed to save 15,500 glass bottles a year by having a more kind of bulk system of providing the beverages. So yeah, it's really been considered from the ground up. Absolutely.
Well, the Scottish North American Community Conference brings together so many of us in our diaspora community, and talking on behalf of the committee, I thank you for joining us this year and for telling us more about the important work you're doing and how you're sharing it with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camilla. Thank you, everyone.
The pandemic has forced us all to slow down, to reflect on what we appreciate and miss. And from all I hear, we all look forward to returning to Scotland, and protecting the landscape is something we are also aware of. Visit Scotland is a great resource for bringing us unique and different experiences. And the Lobster Shack in North Berwick is a great example of environmental sustainability, sourcing local and producing a great experience, respecting and protecting.
The lobsters that we sell at the Lobster Shack come from the harbour at North Berwick. There are about 5 boats fishing there, and we probably buy about 80% of their catch, and the rest would go abroad to Spain. Our potatoes come from Samuelstown, which is just the other side of Haddington, and they make fantastic chips for us. This is Lobster Shack Lager, which was made specially for us by the Edinburgh Beer Factory, and it just goes really, really well with seafood. A nice, crisp drink to enjoy down by the sea. What we did with the Edinburgh Beer Factory is work to try and get something that would suit the shellfish, and also it's just up the road. They make it and brew it specially for us, so we designed all the labels and everything just to make it a bit funkier, a bit more interesting, and we found that people really, really enjoy it. The Lobster Shack is primarily it is a carry-out restaurant, and everything that we use is biodegradable. So all the packaging, you know, even the cups that you have your juice in and things like that, that's all biodegradable. Environmental sustainability is one of the most important things to myself as the founder of the Lobster Shack, and to all my colleagues. And I think that's one of the things that really works for us, and I think it's one of the things that's really important to our customers. So they want to know that we are doing everything possible to make it sustainable. And I think that's one of the reasons why they love it so much and why they keep coming back, but also the food tastes really good, and that makes all the difference.
Lord Thurso, thank you for staying with us. And can we now maybe hear from you on a few questions we have?
Absolutely, ready and
waiting. All right. So the first one I'd like to put to us is, Visit Scotland is clearly placing great emphasis on responsible tourism right now. But our perception here in the US is that Scotland has long since been positioned as a sustainable destination. What would you say has mostly driven the current focus and aspect of tourism?
There are really two sides to this, and it's why responsible tourism is divided into sort of two separate parts. One is the sort of sustainable community side, and that was really a response very much to what happened during the first summer after our lockdown, not this year, but last year. It was fabulous in the sense that we had an huge influx of visitors, but these were people who might normally have probably gone to Spain for a beach holiday, and perhaps had never explored Scotland, and so didn't quite know how to use it. And the result of that was that there was quite a lot of tension between some of the visitors and some of the local communities. And we feel very strongly that the benefits that tourism bring, and they bring immense benefits, I mean, obviously to the tourist, particularly if you're researching your ancestors or enjoying the culture, but for the communities, it's an important source of wealth that helps to keep communities going, keep shops going, all sorts of things. If they are to enjoy the good things that come from it, it has to be done in a responsible way so that it is both socially and environmentally sustainable. So that was what kicked off that side of it. The other side was really something that came from a personal passion of mine, which is that if you look at where carbon emissions come from, they effectively, the vast bulk, come from two sources. One is transport and the other is accommodation. And what do we tourists do? We travel a lot and we stay a lot. So looking at how we could deal with that and help people towards that was a really important thing for us to do. So it's about, very quickly, three approaches. It's the approach to product. So you change product so that you encourage people to act in a more sustainable way. And for those who read the Times, you will have seen in the Times on Thursday an article I had on called Slow Tourism. And it's basically about travel, stay, enjoy, rather than it's Tuesday, so it must be Frankfurt. So there's it's a different approach. So there's product, then there's technology, and there are some huge changes in technology. I'm working on a project for a 5-bedroom B&B here in Caithness, which we hope will have batteries, wind and solar, and actually will not use any electricity off the grid, which means that you will be able to come and stay, and you will know that your entire staying experience is genuinely net zero. So technology is also playing a part in it, and behavior is a big part too. The way people behave, both as hosts delivering and as consumers using, and all of these three things are things that we have to work on to get the most out of what we can offer. And just finally, I would say, for me, this was not because I saw it as a problem, although undoubtedly it's a challenge, because I'm not allowed to say problems. It is a challenge. But for me, I see it as an opportunity, because our research shows that particularly the millennial and post-millennial generations will pay more for a low carbon experience than they will for a traditional one. So it's a real opportunity for Scotland to work towards those traditional values that we have of sustainability and the environment, but to do it, on steroids, as it were.
I think that the pandemic has definitely slowed us down. I think that, and appreciating things again in a far greater way. But one of the things that wasn't in Armadale's presentation that they said to me on the side was that the visitor ratio has gone up by 600%, coming across in those campers and those cars, and working out how to handle that and find a way to help that carbon emission situation. What do you think Glasgow's hosting of COP26 climate change summit has had? That's helped in this whole messaging, hasn't it?
It's helped hugely, because we were, Glasgow was front and center, the focus of the world for anybody who was interested in this sort of thing. As an aside, I was really pleased to see the television shots around the world of people getting a warm Glasgow welcome, which Glasgow sometimes has a reputation for not being as welcoming as it might be, which is completely unfair, because it's a wonderful place. And it was just great to see that. It was really tremendous. But what it did was, we Visit Scotland, we hosted the Scottish Government's pod in the Lighthouse, and we did a range of events, and one of them I hosted. It was a live event. I had real people in front of me in person, which was absolutely brilliant. But what all of the people there were saying was, we have changed the way we do things. So a wonderful restaurant, which is now going for zero food waste, by the way they actually operate, but anything that is left over, they're composting, and they're giving the compost to the local residents, who are then using what they have composted. So you get a virtual cycle of, it's the reuse and recycle approach. There was a marvelous business called Wilderness Scotland, who operate in the Cairngorms, done a simple thing. They have actually worked out the carbon consumption of every experience they offer, and that is obliging them to actually find ways to lower the carbon. And therefore, when you book with them, they will tell you how much carbon the particular product you're using, that you are enjoying, is actually using. These are the kind of things that are happening. A wonderful estate in Angus, where it's all lodges in the natural pine forest, where the wood that is grown is used for the heat. It's the old-fashioned sort of Aga type cooker. The electricity comes from photovoltaic cells and so on. And the result is you're staying in nature, using nature, and it's all regenerating and recycling. These are just some of the examples of what people are doing. And COP26 undoubtedly gave that a huge push.
I think over here, when we would go to Highland Games and have been in a tent talking about all the things people can do back in Scotland, there was such a big thrust towards the natural experience. Where can we take new walks? Where can we go and camp? Where can we glamp? Where can we do that? And I think that was overlooked before a little bit. So it's wonderful to see this focus onto it. I have to pivot a bit to the year of stories and to our themed years. Over here, I think that we found them really useful. It gives us a focus a few years ahead. How do you feel about them? The next one is the year of stories, which I think is going to be wonderful.
No, it's fabulous, because if you just year in, year out market, you tend to fall back on marketing the same things, and to a certain extent slightly in the same way. Whereas having a themed year obliges us all to go out and think about it, and we become a bit more creative. So we've gone now to, we have a year every 2 years, because what we found is that you really need a year of run up to it, and then a year of it, and then there's nearly always some carryover. But the last one we did 2 years ago was the year of coasts and waters. And that was just a tremendous possibility, because you've got things like surfing. You wouldn't believe it, but outside the window here, there are about 30 people surfing a deep wave right in front of the house. They're in dry suits, I have to tell you, most of them. But because we've got this huge break at Thurso East, and they come from all over Scotland and indeed other parts. You've got the free swimming that goes on, but then you've got the enjoying of it. You've got the ability to take a yacht. Wick, just along the 20 miles from here, has developed a fabulous little marina. So all of these kind of things. So we were able to market on those things. So now we've got the year of stories. And of course, you've got all the traditional stories and legends of Scotland. And as I said at the beginning, the peat fire, the malt whiskey, and the lovely tale of whatever it was. But you've got the modern ones as well. You've got, the Harry Potter films that have been filmed. You've got Highlander, which, everybody, and there's various television programs. You've got the Shetland at the moment, which is on BBC. So you've got all of these different wonderful things. And then, of course, you've got our long heritage of wonderful books, Sir Walter Scott, all the rest of it. And then you've got more modern storytelling in Edinburgh and Glasgow, some of the whodunits and the police sagas. So there's just a vast amount from all the different genres of storytelling, plus the legends of Scotland. And it's proving to be an immensely rich source of presenting another different face of Scotland. And so what the themed years do, they allow us to sort of produce a new side of Scotland every 2 years, which I hope people enjoy.
I think it's wonderful. And I think that the Year of Stories also shows, again, the return to not just technology, but experience of the book, which is wonderful. I do have another question, which comes from Clan Forbes, in fact. You did a wonderful program a few years ago, which allowed clans to put in for a grant to help them to get over to do a return to Scotland. Will you maybe look to do a project again, some program like this again? Is there any? We would love to see that. It's because there's a healthy appetite to come back.
Absolutely. That is part of Visit Scotland is Event Scotland, which is a directorate within Visit Scotland. Although fascinatingly, most of Visit Scotland reports to one cabinet secretary. Event Scotland reports to a different cabinet secretary. That's just to keep me on my toes. But certainly we have the events funds, and we have been helping various clan reunions and events. Indeed, Clan Sinclair, which was due to meet in 2020, is still got a postponed amount of money in there for when we do eventually meet, which now sadly looks like it's going to be 2025. But there are funds there. And as long as we have the ministerial support to do it, we will. It's very much something we see as being very important. It's a tremendous way of helping different parts of Scotland, because obviously clans tend to go to their own part of Scotland, and a very helpful way of encouraging people to come over.
I think it's wonderful. So within what you're doing with the Greener Scotland, what are the leading projects you see that are going on at this moment?
Well, there's a huge range of products, of projects that are going on. I mean, I was delighted that you featured the Johnnie Walker experience, because that is exactly what we were, 4 or 5 years ago, we were talking about and hoping would happen. There's another one, just to show that there are other whiskies, but the Macallan Edrington Group have a fabulous new distillery. It's even got a grass roof. I call it the Hobbit House, but it's the most amazing experience as well. And to see one of our great traditional industries of whiskey not only embracing tourism and all of that can offer to them, but doing it in a sustainable way is really tremendous. But you've got, people like Johnston's of Elgin, who are changing the way in which they source materials, and they're sourcing their energy. You've got, farm visits and estate visits, which are greening their product. You've also, I was talking to one of the major tour companies that does this big tours around Scotland, and saying, look, how about slow tourism? And they said, actually, we've already decided to do this. We're going to downsize our buses to sort of a 20-seater as opposed to a 60-seater. And they can be electric for much more easily. And they're going to do shorter hops. So, i.e. within the range of an electric bus, so that you will go more slowly, you will stay longer, you will see more and experience more, and hopefully you will leave more money behind in each of the communities that you visit, which is the object of the exercise to a certain point of the
Well, I also think a 60-seater coach is is only going to take the main highways. When you're in a smaller 20-seater, you're going to be able to take the wonderful country routes, which is going to be much pleasant as well, much better experience.
No, it will give people what it's all about. I have often said, it's something I thought of years ago, that the three great luxuries in modern life are time, space, and human contact, because we are time poor and rushed. We tend to live in relatively small spaces, and particularly now we lack human contact. Now, what we can offer in Scotland is, if you slow down and do slow tourism, you can take the time to enjoy, and you can take the time to be served well. You've got space in abundance, and you've got lovely places to stay, and you've got wonderful human contact. So at whatever expense level you choose to be, we can give you the luxury of time, space, and human contact.
And the other one that I was thinking of when you spoke about whiskey was, of course, Arbeiki, who are complete. I believe they're net zero now, with their gins and vodkas, with whiskies coming soon. I love the idea of their pea vodka, the pea gin that they came up with first, and now they've gone on to all these other ones. But they're real farm to table, totally integrated.
They are a perfect example of a phenomena that we're seeing across Scotland. We have it here in Caithness with Rock Rose Gin, which is produced in Dunnet Bay at Dunnet Bay Distillers. And last year, they were net zero on electricity, in that they produce their own electricity on site. And across a year, they produced as much as they actually consumed. But there are now 3 or 4 in Caithness craft distillers doing gin, rum and whiskey, and all of them are relatively new within the last, certainly the last decade, but mostly the last 5 years. And all of them have constructed themselves with their carbon footprint and minimizing it as a central part of the product they offer. So absolutely everything from how you travel to where you sleep to what you drink, we are taking the carbon out of it. The only thing we're taking the carbon dioxide out is the champagne, if you have to choose a glass of champagne, but we have to import that.
Well, I was very interested how many people, when we were talking to them in preparation for this, spoke about taking your own water bottle, getting rid of that plastic water bottle, that there were water fountains being put in and reusing it. And somebody proudly said, I've used this now for 3 years, and I think that's a huge step in the right direction. These little things can really, magnified, make such a difference.
And the other thing, funnily enough, is we can actually learn from the past. I was at a renewable conference recently, and with a completely straight face, I said to one of the presenters, I know of a way in which one of the core products of life can be delivered daily for no carbon in a completely reusable way and friendly way. And he said, my gosh, what's that? I said, it's called milk in a glass bottle delivered on an electric milk float, which is what we did on this farm here in the 1950s and 60s.
Do you remember the milk being delivered all the time in the glass bottles?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but I can tell you that when the delivery drivers had a good new year, they didn't actually come in the following day. And I remember helping my father, who drove the milk float, to actually deliver on the 2nd of January. The drivers hadn't appeared. But I am getting old now.
So as we wind up on this session, our next session also, as you spoke of Johnson's of Elgin, is going to be around the focus now onto fashion and renewables and how they are doing an eco-fashion. We're hearing from Prickly Thistle, who've opened a mill that is very driven by that, and also from Chris Hunt, who just did a fashion show within COP around it. Is there any parting thoughts and words you'd like to give us around what Visit Scotland is hoping to see us all do?
Well, what we're trying to do is help people in Scotland to create product that will encourage you to enjoy Scotland as much as you ever did, if not actually even more, but to do it in a sustainable way. And I would just say to everybody, as Janie said in her presentation, before you get here, just think about it and just think about how you can travel sustainably, stay sustainably, and enjoy sustainably. It's not actually too difficult. We'll work on getting the product green and right for you. And we look forward to, I think what it means is at the end of the day, instead of leaping into a car, you sit by that fire with that malt whiskey. But we really can't wait to welcome you all back as soon as we possibly can. And as I've done so often online, I raise a glass and say Slant Shavar. I haven't got one here because it's a little early even for me. But
very early for us.
But really, we will welcome you back, and we're working hard on it. And I think together, as producer and consumer, we really can make a difference.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, for helping us to really understand this. COP was a wonderful focus of everybody's attention, the world's attention at this time. And this is a great header of a visitors program to say, tread lightly, and the visitors experience of responsible tourism. Thank you, Lord Thurso.
Thank you.